The San Francisco 49ers have recently found themselves in the midst of some intriguing news, which initially left me uncertain until it was confirmed by an alternative source in a completely different context. Suddenly, it seemed like a conversation we needed to have, so here we are exploring this together. If daily updates on the 49ers pique your interest, I recommend sticking around because there might be a significant move on the horizon for the team. A noteworthy suggestion has been made regarding a potential player acquisition, especially due to the challenging contract negotiations he's facing with his current team. For those who may not have been keeping a close eye on this situation, it's understandable not to be fully aware of the details. Personally, I don't follow the general NFL news all the time, just a bit here and there each day. The situation in Cincinnati appears to be deteriorating, with indications from the front office suggesting that the player should be content with his salary far lower than what he's asking for. When an NFL player is advised to accept a pay cut, it undoubtedly puts him in a tough position. The idea of pursuing this player has been echoed by others as well. While I was outside organizing some new furniture for my patio, to be honest, not everyone's particularly skilled at that. I was listening to a podcast where they also mentioned the 49ers as a team that could be interested in acquiring high-level talent to support their star player. If the 49ers decide to go after this player, it would undoubtedly be an exciting decision, but it's important to consider the costs involved. Reports suggest that this move would require a first-round pick. My child is trying to grab my attention here, but they'll have to wait while I record this video. Anyway, the 49ers would need to part with a first-round pick in the year 2025. To understand what's required, this would involve that first-round pick, and my child continues to try and communicate with me, so they'll have to wait while I'm recording this video. Surely, it will cost the 49ers that first-round pick in 2025. There's also a slight trade-off involved, which may sound more intense than I initially indicated, and for that, I apologize. The 49ers would receive the 17th and 11th picks, along with a third-round pick in the same draft, the 75th overall, and another third-round pick, the 100th overall. That's what's projected. While the 49ers aren't undergoing a full rebuild this offseason, they did allow several key contributors to leave the team, and now they need to find ways to replace them. We can all agree on that. The 49ers might look to add a second pass rusher in the draft. The scouting department of BR recently made a prediction that Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M would be selected by San Francisco. With $40.3 million in cap space, they might also consider negotiating for Hendrickson. San Francisco is equipped with 2 third-round picks, having received a special compensatory selection due to the signings of Demo Ryan and Rancon. They could also offer both of those selections, along with a significant first-round movement, to Cincinnati in exchange for Hendrickson. Now, the 49ers have been mentioned multiple times in relation to a potential move back in the draft, with many suggesting the team should consider this option. This would be a situation where if they decide to go this route, instead of acquiring more picks, they could move backward to acquire real first-line talent. There's one last issue I'm currently forgetting, but I'll find it quickly. The important thing is that this is what would be needed to get the player. My main concern is with the age and the financial investment. Some may think this isn't a bad deal in terms of draft capital, and I'll let you decide in the comments whether 2 third-round picks, one at the 75th and another at the 100th overall, along with a first-round trade, would be a good strategy. In my view, the age is acceptable and the financial aspect is manageable. If some people think that this doesn't affect draft capital much, I invite you to leave your thoughts in the comments. Think about whether 2 third-round picks, corresponding to the 75th and 100th overall picks, along with a first-round pick trade, would be fair for the 49ers when acquiring a truly all-pro talent. I'm curious to know what you all think about this. However, my biggest concern lies in the fact that the player is already 30 years old, and financially, he's expecting a payment around $15 million this year, especially after an all-pro season. He's looking for a substantial salary, and we've all heard this narrative before. This situation probably won't change if he joins the 49ers, which adds to my concern. However, if the 49ers decide to pursue a draft capital strategy, this could be a favorable year for it, as they're currently in a respectable position concerning draft value. They hold the 7th overall position in the NFL according to PFF's draft values. I understand that PFF evaluations can be seen as somewhat average, and I don't delve too deeply into those details, so feel free to share your opinions in the comments if you disagree with this assessment. Looking at Robert Saleh and the opportunities available for the 49ers with the 11th pick, along with the 75th and 100th picks, these represent 3 of the top 4 selections, which is a significant point. However, it's reasonable to say that if they decide to move forward, doing so in a year where they have considerable draft value is advantageous, as this could mitigate the potential loss of a significant portion of their draft capital. Even so, I still feel cautious about the amount of draft capital that would be offered for a player who is also expecting a large contract and is already in his 30s. However, he did have an all-pro season, which adds value to his situation. If I were in Robert Saleh's position, I would trust my skills as a coach and our scouting team, which was exceptional last year. I would put my faith in these people. Even though he's 30 years old, he had an all-pro season, and that undoubtedly should be taken into account. I believe that if I were in Robert Saleh's position, I would trust my talent as a coach and in our recruiting and scouting team, which excelled last year. I would rely on these professionals to come together and find ways to bring in quality players who can contribute from the start. We've seen many athletes enter the league and make solid contributions in their first seasons. Not at the level of Trey Hendrickson, of course, but players like Dominic Puny, Malik Mustafa, and Ronaldo Green have left their mark. Isaac Guerendo is another example. There are many athletes who made an impact. The 49ers could potentially mess up one of those 4 main picks and think, oh, we should have traded some of that draft capital. That possibility certainly exists. However, the likelihood of them messing up 3 out of the 4 picks, or even all of them, seems pretty low. It's definitely a complex situation from a draft perspective. I understand the argument that the 49ers have 11 picks, and it might be wise to make a move this year rather than wait for another year when they might not have as many options. A change in the team is one of the reasons many believe an athlete no longer fits, but that's not related to his performance in pass rush situations. The concern centers on run defense. The same can be said for another athlete. The need to improve run defense has been around for a long time, and it's not new, as it dates back to the exciting 2023 season. If the team opts to acquire a skilled player, it would certainly be a significant addition, and I'm not the only one saying that. A football analyst commented on this situation, noting that while the team will have a healthy player to occupy one of the defensive line spots, the opposite position has seen many changes. With one player leaving for another team, the roster now has 2 players who occupy the primary pass rusher spots on the other side. To be fair, one of those players is quite versatile. He can play as an edge, but he can also function in the middle of the line, which makes him more flexible in that regard, so he still has his value. If the possibility of a new player is on the table, it's certain that the team will be looking to select 1 or 2 talented defenders in the upcoming draft, at least. Speculation continues to run high that a trade for a proven defensive end is a real possibility for the team, regardless of the presence of promising rookies, and this is evident by the way the team has met with some athletes. It's clear they're in search of a top-tier edge, and that's apparent. While the defensive unit didn't perform better than the defense in 2024, the last season was excellent for one player in particular, who led the league in sacks with 17, including a game where he registered 4 sacks against an opponent. Pairing that player, who is 31 years old, with another athlete would represent an immediate talent boost for the defensive line, as well as provide extra time to integrate 1 or 2 rookies into the rotation this season. The main argument for this acquisition, if it is indeed being considered, is that proven talent is hard to come by. It's possible to make good picks in the draft, but you never know how things will truly unfold. With good coaching, which seems to be present this season, particularly on defense, there's an opportunity to select these players. However, there are no guarantees, and opting for a player with a history of immediate impact might be an alternative. Another point of concern is that we often discuss these players as if their previous performance guarantees their future, and that's not a certainty. We've seen that happen with another player recently. Past performance doesn't ensure the future. Relating to another player, his situation is not exactly comparable, although he faced some struggles and seemed out of shape at the start of the season. I'm not saying that necessarily suggests that, had he stayed healthy throughout, he wouldn't have been valuable to the team. He would have been extremely useful. A player capable of beating coverage was needed, and he would have certainly found his rhythm and started receiving the ball. I have no doubt he would have become a valuable asset, maybe not with the same numbers, but his efficiency was remarkable, and he would have contributed in some way. With that in mind, it's interesting to consider the possibility of acquiring a skilled player. I don't know if you've heard the rumors about it, but should the team be interested? I don't think he'll accept a specific amount to play, so this would need to be a trade situation followed by a new contract. The fear is that the last thing you want is a trade for a player unhappy with his current salary of about $15,800,000 or something like that, and who's trying to take advantage of his all-pro season. I'm not excited about this move, even though I believe he could be an excellent addition. However, this topic is gaining momentum. Many people are debating it, and it's not just repeating one opinion. Everyone is bringing their views from different angles. I think it's relevant to consider that if a player is determined not to show up, no matter what, maybe it's beneficial for his team to seek a trade and let him go. They've clearly invested a lot in their offensive strategies, which is understandable given the talent they have like Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. It's natural they would prioritize the offensive side of the game and make sure to keep the best pieces within the organization. That's just good practice in free agency, keeping valuable players and preventing them from leaving. The team is well aware of the risks of holding on to players for long periods, and although I don't think this applies to this particular player, it's important to note that a pass rusher, especially one weighing around 270 pounds, is subject to physical wear and tear, and there's a legitimate concern about signing a player already in his 30s and paying him generously after an all-pro season. This is a point to be considered since it's the teams that have to deal with the financial ramifications of paying someone after an all-pro season. We've seen this scenario happen frequently. Personally, I'm not in favor of this, but I'm really curious about what you think. For me, there are only 18 days until the 2025 NFL Draft, so let's focus on that. Let's direct our efforts towards the draft and see how we can make it effective. If it were up to me, this would be my focus. I'm excited to read your opinions in the comments. I'm waiting for your thoughts as we get closer to this important event with just 18 days until the NFL Draft. Let's focus exclusively on the draft and see how we can maximize our opportunities during this critical period. For me, that's the best strategy. I'm looking forward to reading your messages, as always, and I hope you're having a great weekend. Make the most of the time we have ahead. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to 49ers Zone and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the San Francisco 49ers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The San Francisco 49ers are making waves in the NFL offseason, and their latest target is none other than Baker Mayfield. Despite the quarterback recently signing a 3-year, $100 million extension with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, insiders report that the 49ers are aggressively exploring avenues to bring him to the Bay Area. With San Francisco's championship aspirations stronger than ever, the prospect of adding a quarterback with Mayfield's experience and leadership is creating significant buzz around the league. Mayfield's resurgence in Tampa Bay has reignited his status as a top-tier quarterback, leading the Buccaneers to a division title and a playoff victory in the 2023 season. He demonstrated poise under pressure and the ability to elevate his team. His efficient passing, mobility, and fiery competitiveness align well with the 49ers' offensive system, making him an intriguing potential fit in Kyle Shanahan's scheme. While Brock Purdy has been solid for San Francisco, some within the organization reportedly view Mayfield as a potential upgrade who could maximize the team's dynamic offensive weapons. The biggest obstacle for the 49ers will be convincing Tampa Bay to part ways with their franchise quarterback. Given his recent extension and strong performances, the Buccaneers are unlikely to entertain trade talks easily. However, San Francisco has a history of bold moves and could leverage future draft picks or even a player trade package to entice Tampa Bay. The 49ers front office has remained tight-lipped on the speculation, but sources close to the situation suggest they are closely monitoring Mayfield's availability. If a deal were to materialize, the move could have significant implications for the NFC landscape. The 49ers, already considered Super Bowl contenders, would add another layer of versatility and veteran presence to their offense. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay would be left in search of a new signal caller, potentially disrupting their immediate playoff hopes. For Mayfield, a move to San Francisco could provide an opportunity to lead one of the most complete rosters in the league while working with one of the most innovative offensive minds in Shanahan. While the rumor mill continues to swirl, one thing is clear. San Francisco's interest in Baker Mayfield is real, and the 49ers are not afraid to make bold moves to chase a championship. Whether Tampa Bay will entertain an offer remains to be seen, but as the NFL offseason unfolds, all eyes will be on the Bay Area to see if this ambitious pursuit turns into a blockbuster deal. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the San Francisco 49ers, make sure to subscribe to 49ers Zone and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.